Hey guys, welcome to Holly D TV. I'm so excited that you're on the show. Today I'm going to talk about 12 things that brides don't usually think about for their wedding. I'm going to show you all the 12 things as well as be able to give you some tips for each one. See you soon. Your dress. Your dress is usually long, so it will drag on the ground, and you probably want that because it's a train. Now, when it's dragging, don't freak out because when it does drag, there is dirt on the ground, so it will get dirty on the bottom. Don't worry about that, and say if it does get a little dirty on the top, no one actually even knows it. And if it does show up, say in the photos, usually your photographer will edit it right out. That's what I usually do. Now, another thing is with your dress, when you're walking around and you're out and about and you're in the woods or you're outside, anywhere, this happens every single time. If you have tulle on your dress or you have layers on your dress, there is going to be bugs that may go in there. Now, don't freak out because it always happens. They're just little bugs. Don't get scared. Usually what I do is I just say, hey, lift up the top part of your dress and it will just go right on out, or you can just like get it out that way. And we won't be flashing on since you have layers. Now, I know in another show I talked about heel protectors, but that's another thing to think about. That's in my emergency kit tutorial that I went over all the different items. So heel protectors are big. Make sure you get the right size. That will help you walk through any situation, if it's a little muddy, or hopefully it won't be muddy, but even if like tall grass or anything like that, it will spread out your heels so it doesn't sink in. Now, another thing to think about is tell your groom and your groomsmen to come early. Now, I know that it's typical, or kind of people think about the bride being late. Honestly, most of the time the grooms are late. It's really quite funny because the groom will be like, it's okay, I'll get there, and then all of a sudden, I'll just put it on real quick. Of course, they can get dressed quicker than girls, but they usually show up late. Now, a tip that I give is tell them, depending on how bad they're late, tell them a half hour to an hour early so then they show up right on time. That's the exact time that you want to come there. Don't tell them that you said early either, because then they'll get there real late. With updos, now make sure, I'm sure your hairstylist and your makeup artist and everyone is going to do an amazing job. Now with your updo, make sure that you bring extra bobby pins, but also have extra hairspray on file so that you can make sure that your hair, when it goes, might come out or something, you can just put an extra bobby pin to stick it back in there. That happens, every once in a while, especially on a windy day. So for your wedding day, with your hair and makeup artist, I would honestly suggest to tell them that you need to be done an hour to two earlier than you really need to be done by. Now, I say this because sometimes they might not be running late to get to you, but maybe your updo or your hairstyle is more intensive that they didn't plan extra time for that, or maybe they did it perfectly, how it was supposed to be, but then you're like, no, that doesn't really flow with my dress how I thought it was gonna be, so let's change it. That will give you extra cushion time to make sure that your hair is perfect the way that you want it. So make sure that you tell them an hour to an hour and a half earlier than you really wanted them to be there for. Another thing to bring for your wedding day is extra lipstick or extra lip gloss for the day, during the day. Your hair and makeup artist has probably left, and you're going to be kissing your groom, and you're going to be excited to give him a kiss, and different ones to give him a kiss on the cheek, different things like that. So your lip gloss will come off, and we want to make sure that when I'm taking photos of you for like your sunset photos or different items like that, you want to have that on hand to make sure that you can reapply. And what I usually do is I have this little pouch in my back pocket. What you can do is you can hand it to me, and I'll have it around because I'm following you around pretty much the whole day. So whenever you need it, just say, hey, Holly, can you, give me that lipstick? And I'll be happy to do that. Another thing to think about is when you're writing your timeline, make sure to try to attempt all of the big activities within the first hour. So the first dance, the father-daughter dance, the toast, the speeches, the blessings, all of those items within the first hour. A lot of times, say like grandma's there and you want to have her for all those special activities and items there, but she's tired, she's older. So you want to think about the, people that might have to catch a flight or something like that. You want to make sure that you capture it all within the first hour, as well as all of your vendors might have to leave early or different things like that. So it also combines them all. It won't be rushed or anything like that, but it will be a nice flowing if you have it correctly and you do it with your photographer and your wedding planner. So another thing to think about to bring is flats. Your feet are gonna be killing you unless you have amazing heels. That doesn't do that, and I haven't found one that does it for me, so I usually wear flats. That's just me, but I do love a cute heel once in a while. So with heels, make sure that you bring those heel protectors, but also bring an extra pair of flats so that they can help you. I also talked about this in my emergency kit tutorial as well. So you also want to bring flats, but also your emergency kit. So the emergency kit I talked about in another tutorial. It has every item. I talked through every one and why you need it, so make sure to have that, as well as a nice hanger for your dress. So make sure to look at that. You can get some really good ones that say Mrs. So-and-so, Mrs. Smith, or different items like that. I showed that in another tutorial too, but you want to think about bringing that. So the last one is where a lot of people think about, okay, this is a beautiful scenery for your ceremony. You want to have people looking forward, looking at you, holding hands, and it looks gorgeous. The mountains are in the background. There's beautiful vineyards, different things like that. And then, but when you walk down the aisle and you're coming towards us, sometimes I'll be photographing and everyone turns around to look at you and your dad walking down the aisle, and I'm taking these photos, and then there is a trash can behind you or there's cars behind you. So you don't want this really special moment with you and your dad, or you walking down the aisle and you're like tearing up or smiling or something like that. Everyone's looking at you. You don't want them to see these, ugly cars in the background or a trash can. I've had this happen several times, so I know what I'm, saying. So when you get the photo back, you're like, oh man, I wish I would have thought about I wish I would have thought about taking that trash can out, or, something like that. You just don't think about it because you're looking what's ahead of you and not what's behind you, but that's what the photographer will capture since you're walking down. So make sure to bring these 12 items and think about these 12 items. And please subscribe below and also click the bell to look at other notifications that will come in about these shows. I have them every 2 weeks, so please tune in, and thank you.